Welcome to Reader's Retreat. I'm Paul, and I am going to talk about 10 books that I consider classics that is a must read. Uh, Now, I'm going to start off with three that everybody should have read when they was a child. I have. Now, the first one is by Alan Dwight, and it is Kentucky Cargo. This is an awesome book. I haven't read this since I was 6, 7 years old. And I won't read this one because it is kind of stiff. It is very old copy, as you can tell. It is a very old copy. Uh, and I will try to tell you if the papers don't start falling out on me exactly what year. But this is back in let's say the Dan Boone days, okay? Um, this book here, this copy here, came out in 1939, and that's why I would not ever read it. But I would get a copy from Barnes and Noble, and if I could find one, and read it again because I did enjoy it when I was a kid. I believe that there was a movie that this inspired in. So anyway, let me get this over here. That's one of the ones that everybody should have read when they was a kid, in my point of view. Here's another one, and I remember reading this one back in the day, and it's from Still. It's The Far Frontier. Yep, that's what it looks like. And there's the Far Frontier. And this guy actually was from a library sale. I mean, I think libraries are stupid for selling these books. I mean, getting rid of these books. Unless they got newer copies of it. I don't know if they have the date in here or not, but that's what I'm looking for. This copy here came out in 1950. So this is another old copy. And it's The Far Frontier. So, The Far Frontier is another one that should be read by the time that you're a kid. And the last kid book that everybody should have read by the time that they was 6, 7, maybe 8 years old, if not earlier, is by Mark Twain. You got it. Huckleberry Finn. Huckleberry Finn is a classic, and this looks older than what I think it is. I'm not real sure how old this is, to tell you the truth. This copy, and I do not know Roman numerals well enough to tell you the copyright of this. So, but it's been worked over by a kid. So there was a kid that actually enjoyed this book, and so Huckleberry Finn is a book that we all should have read while we was still young. There's a few of us that still likes to read these things. Okay. Now, I am not talking traditional classics here. I'm talking about this classics that I consider classics. That should be classics, in my opinion. The other book is Agatha Christie Mystery Collection. And this is And Then There Were None. Now, this story here did have the name change 3 different times before they came up with this one. The first name, people got offended because it's because it was an N word and in the title. People was offended when they called it 10 Little Onions. So they came up with, and then there were none. So that way nobody could get offended at all. And another one that is an awesome book that I read a lot, and that's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And if you think of Frankenstein, you have to feel sorry for the monster because he represents each and every one of us. You got to think of it like this: the monster did not have a choice of being created. He was created without being asked. If you think of it, we all are born without being asked. Okay? The only thing the monster wants is find someone that he could truly get along with, that find someone that cared about him, find someone that he cared about, and people kept throwing crap in his way, and he just had to get downright mean and shut them up every once in a while. So the thing is, I can understand Frankenstein monster. I can't understand Frankenstein himself, Dr. Frankenstein. So, and another great classic is Dracula by Bram Stoker. And I do like this edition with the black sprayed pages. And this here is another one I would go through a lot. And I finally got the sequel to Dracula that Bram Stoker's great nephew wrote, or something like that. And he lives right here in South Carolina. Now the next two books is by the same author. And I consider these classics because of the year that they came out in, which is very, very long time ago. And the first one is, the author's name is Edgar Rice Burroughs. Edgar Rice Burroughs did write John Carter books. Like Princess of Mars is the first book. Gods of Mars is the second. The Warlord of Mars is the third. Divya Maid of Mars is the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the fifth one is the Chessmen of Mars. So this here holds 5 books. I have the rest of the books in other collections, but I just wanted to pick up one book and show it to you. Now this is a awesome read. And the thing is, if you think of John Carter, now did he actually go to Mars? Or did he die and he projected himself onto Mars in the afterlife? Now there's the question. Did he hallucinate it while he was alive? Or did he actually die and the Mars, everything that happened on Mars was actually his afterlife? Now there's a question I've been asking myself. Now this other one that Edgar Rice Burroughs did, of course, was the Tarzan books. This holds the first 3 Tarzan books, which is Tarzan of the Apes, The Return of Tarzan, and The Beast of Tarzan. Now, this here holds 3. This is actually, I actually got 2 copies of The Beast of Tarzan. I got it in this, and then I got a single book I found, A Beast of Tarzan. But this is another classic that I consider a classic. And all classics don't have to be boring and historian and all that stuff. It just has to be good books that was wrote years ago. Now, another one that I really enjoy, and to me, this is a must read for any horror fan. This classic here is a must read for any horror fan, and that's Edgar Allan Poe's Complete Tales and Poems. This is what got me into horror, was Edgar Allan Poe. And the only thing I don't care for this book is the print is so small. But I still read it. I just get the magnifying glass out and I keep reading it. Now, did keep the awesome book for last. I did keep a awesome book for last. Some of you might have heard about this one. Some of you might have not. Depends on how much classic you like. And this was wrote. The first time this one here was wrote, if I can find it, when it first came out. Was 1906. So in 1906, this is... Now, my copy is not that old. My copy is kind of new. Just a few... I mean, mine's just a few years old. Let's see. Mine came out in 2003, looks like. And this is a Barnes & Noble classic, and it's by Upton Sinclair. Now, that's what caught my eye, was the last name. My sister and her two sons, their last name is Sinclair. So it caught my eye when I seen the name Sinclair. And I always wondered, why. I never heard of Upton Sinclair until I found this book, to be honest. And this is The Jungle. Now, the thing is, he had to write this as a fiction. But he tackled what was going on in the meat section of Chicago that had made the president start the Food Act. Because people was dying, people was getting sick of spoiled meat. Bad meat. And this is the book that caused the president, and which, give me a minute, I'll tell you who the president was at the time. But this inspired the Pure Food and Drug Act. Let me just read the back of it to you. And then you'll understand why this here is so important in our history and why people should read this. Upton Sinclair's mock-raking masterpiece, The Jungle, centers on Jurgis Rudkus, a Lithuanian immigrant working in Chicago's infamous packing town. Instead of finding the American dream, Ruckus and his family inhabit a brutal, soul-crushing urban jungle dominated by greedy bosses, pitiless con men, and corrupt politicians. While Sinclair's main target was the industry of appalling labor conditions, the reading public was most outraged on the filth and garbage in American food. And his novel revealed. As a result, President Theodore Roosevelt demanded an official investigation, which eventually led to the passage of the Pure Food and Drug Act. For a novel to have such an impact outside its literary context is extremely rare. At the time of The Jungle's publication in 1906, the only novel to have led so much significant social change was the anti-slavery narrative Uncle Tom's Cabin. Today, The Jungle remains a relevant portrait of capitalism at its worst and an impassioned account of the human spirit facing nearly insurmountable challenges. So that's why I think everybody should read this. Uh, this is an awesome book. I I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to. I believe I gave it a 5 star. And this is one book that I'm planning on rereading someday. Okay, those are my 10 books that I would recommend. The 10 classics that I consider classics. I consider all these classics. And the thing is, I think all these should be a must read. Uh, that's just it. They are 10 books that should be read. I'll talk to y'all later.